Cale was not a soldier. He was just a repairman. Human who fixed broken machines on dead planets. The pay was low, the food was worse. Cale needed the money. He didn't have family left on Earth, just debts and memories. The planet he worked on was called Jaros 9. Dry, silent, full of broken metal and forgotten wars. The outpost had no sunlight, only dust and cold wind. It was supposed to be empty, just old war machines and scrap. But Cale was wrong. One evening, while fixing a damaged power relay near the edge of the ruins, Cale heard a sound soft, weak, like a cry. He looked around but saw no one. Then he heard it again, closer this time, a voice whispering in pain. He followed the sound through a narrow path between collapsed buildings. His boots crushed bones and metal underfoot. Behind a bent steel wall, he found her. She was an alien. Girl, maybe 17 or 18 in human years. Her skin was pale blue, covered in bruises and cuts. Strange glowing patterns flickered across her arms and neck. She was chained to a post like an animal, her arms shaking, her eyes filled with fear. Cale froze, his breath caught in his chest. He had heard stories about her kind, once powerful, now hunted, sold, or killed by slavers and black market warlords. But he never expected to see one here. "Hey. Can you hear me?" Cale whispered. The girl looked up, barely able to keep her head raised. She didn't speak, just blinked slowly. Her lips were dry. Her eyes tired from crying. Cale stepped forward, checking for traps. There were none. Just her, alone, hurt and fading fast. He knelt beside her and checked her chains. They were rusted, but strong. Too strong for him to break with his bare hands. "Who did this to you?" he asked. Still no answer, just silence. And that look in her eyes, like she didn't believe anyone would help her. Cale pulled out his toolkit. He tried cutting the chain, but it sparked and hissed, some kind of energy lock. He cursed under his breath. Why now? Then came the sound he feared: drones, fast, sharp, and deadly. The slavers had returned. Red lights flashed in the distance, approaching fast. 3 black drones zipped through the air. Scanning for movement, Cale knew he didn't have time. He looked at the girl, then at the incoming danger. His heart pounded. He could run, leave her, save himself. No one would blame him. She wasn't even human. But something inside him refused. Cale pulled her close, wrapped his arms around her, and whispered, "I'm sorry. But I won't let them take you again." The first drone fired. The blast tore through the wall, throwing Cale and the girl to the ground. Metal shards ripped into his back. One pierced deep into his side. He cried out, but didn't let go of her. Another blast came. This time, Cale turned his body to shield her. He felt the heat, the pain, the blood pouring out of him. But still, he held on. The last thing he saw was her face. Eyes wide, glowing softly. She was whispering something he couldn't understand. Maybe his name, maybe a prayer. Then everything went dark. He didn't feel the cold, or the dust, or the blood anymore. Just silence. But somewhere, far away, lights began to move. Voices called in a strange language. A soft hand touched his face, and for the first time in his life, Cale felt safe. And then nothing. Cale's eyes opened slowly. His body felt heavy, like he had been underwater for days. His chest hurt, his side burned, but he was alive. He blinked at the ceiling above. It wasn't metal. It glowed soft blue, like starlight frozen in glass. He wasn't in the outpost anymore. Cale sat up with a groan. His shirt was gone, replaced with smooth bandages wrapped around his chest and arms. Strange symbols glowed on the walls, pulsing gently like they were breathing. Where was he? The bed beneath him was soft and warm, not like the cold cots he slept on during repair work. He looked around the room. It was large, round, with walls shaped like petals of a flower. A faint scent of flowers and metal filled the air. Then he heard footsteps. A door opened without a sound. A tall alien stepped in, blue-skinned, like the girl he saved, but older, dressed in a white and silver robe. The alien had glowing tattoos running down his arms and across his forehead. He looked at Kale with deep respect, and something else. Maybe fear? You're awake. The alien said in a calm voice. Kale's throat was dry, but he managed to whisper, "Where am I?" "You are in the sanctuary of Ilari," the alien replied. "We brought you here after the girl Salara called for help." Kale's mind spun. The girl? She's alive. The alien nodded slowly. Yes, and because of you, she is. More than alive. Before Kale could ask more, another figure entered Solari herself. She was clean now, her wounds healed. She wore a long silver robe, her glowing marks brighter than before. Her eyes locked onto Kale, and she rushed to his side. "You saved me," she whispered. Kneeling beside his bed, Kale tried to speak, but her hand gently touched his. "You gave your blood to protect me," she said, "and now? Something strange has happened to me, to us." "What do you mean?" Kale asked, frowning. Solari turned her palm over. A soft golden light formed in her hand, swirling like wind trapped in glass. Kale stared, unable to believe it. "What is that?" he breathed. "My power," she whispered. "Or maybe our power." Kale spent the next few hours learning what had happened. Solari had called to her people in a way none of them had seen in centuries. Her voice reached through metal and space, calling ships from hidden colonies to come save her. And when they arrived, they found her glowing with Kale's blood still on her skin. The elders called it the awakening, something ancient, long lost in their species, had returned, and they believed it was because of Kale. The elders ran tests, scanned Kale's blood. They found traces of some energy or bond that reacted to Salari's DNA. It wasn't science they understood. It was deeper, older, tied to things their people had buried and forgotten. Kale felt lost. He was just a human repairman, not a warrior, not a chosen one. He didn't understand powers or prophecy. But everywhere he walked, people bowed to him. They called him the bleeding star, the bringer of light, the wounded flame. He hated it. He didn't want to be famous. He just wanted to fix things, stay quiet, and maybe live a simple life. But now, everything had changed. Later that night, Kale stood on a balcony overlooking the alien city. It was beautiful, made of glowing stone and floating lights. Towers stretched into the sky like trees. Waterfalls of liquid light flowed down smooth hills. It was nothing like Earth, and yet it felt calm. Salari joined him in silence. She stood beside him, hands behind her back, eyes watching the stars. "You don't have to stay," she said softly. "You can leave when you are strong again." Kale looked at her. "And what happens to you if I go?" She smiled faintly. "Then I will carry the power alone, and they will expect me to lead, to fight, to become something I don't understand. And if I stay," Kale asked, "then they will fear you more than they fear me," she said, "because no one understands what you are." Kale looked back at the stars. His chest still hurt. But it was not the pain that bothered him now. It was the weight of what came next. He had bled to save her. Now the galaxy might bleed because of him. Kale couldn't sleep. The stars outside his window pulsed like quiet fire, and the glowing city beneath him whispered of things he didn't understand. Everyone treated him like some kind of miracle, but he still felt like a man who should. Died in the dust. The room they gave him was peaceful, too peaceful. It felt more like a temple than a home. The soft music in the walls, the moving lights, the smooth air, it was all too perfect, too silent. And Kale knew silence didn't last. He got up and stepped barefoot onto the balcony. The night was cold, but he didn't mind, not after what he had seen. He remembered the explosion, the shrapnel in his side, the burning pain, and he remembered the way Sailari had looked at him after. Like he wasn't just a human, but something sacred. He didn't feel sacred. He felt broken. The next morning, Kale was taken to the central hall. Dozens of aliens stood waiting, elders, scientists, warriors, all blue-skinned like Sailari, each with glowing symbols across their faces and arms. They didn't speak as he entered. They simply stared. Sailari stood at the center. Her robes white, her hair tied back with silver thread. She nodded at Kale, but her eyes were serious. "We need to show you something," she said. Kale nodded slowly. "All right, show me." One of the elders stepped forward, holding a glowing crystal sphere. Inside it, shapes moved like smoke and lightning. He placed it on a pedestal in front of Kale. "Place your hand on it," the elder said. Kale hesitated. "What is it?" "A memory stone," Sailari answered. "It shows the truth inside you." Kale didn't believe in magic. But this wasn't magic. This was alien science, something older than Earth, maybe older than time. He took a deep breath and placed his hand on the sphere. At first, nothing happened. Then, the stone turned deep red, glowing brighter and brighter until the air buzzed with energy. A sound like thunder filled the hall, and light burst from the sphere. Everyone stepped back. In the center of the light, a vision appeared. Kale, standing in the ruins, his arms around Sailari, blood pouring down his back. But behind him, something else emerged. A shape huge, ancient, made of stars and fire. A figure that looked almost human, but not quite. Kale yanked his hand back, breathing hard. What was that? The elders whispered among themselves. One spoke louder than the rest. "It's real. It's him." "The flame bearer? The what?" Kale asked, confused. Sailari stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "A myth from long ago. A being from another time who gave life to our kind. They say he would return in flesh and blood. When we were lost." "I'm not a god," Kale snapped. "I'm just a guy who tried to save a girl, but your blood changed her." Another elder said, "And through her, you awakened the core." "The core?" Kale asked. Sailari raised her hand, and light swirled in her palm again. "This," she said, "this didn't exist before you. We've lost this ability for hundreds of years. Our people became weaker, quieter. We forgot who we were, and now?" Kale asked. "Now, the galaxy will remember us," she said. Kale stepped outside the hall, his mind spinning. He leaned against a glowing wall and closed his eyes. He didn't want power, or prophecy, or ancient myths. He just wanted to go home. But he couldn't, not anymore. That night, while walking through the gardens, he found Sailari sitting on a stone bench beneath a tree that glowed like moonlight. She didn't look like a leader or a prophet. Just a girl trying to understand this world. "Do you believe them?" he asked quietly. "I don't know," she said, "but I believe you saved me, and that means something." Kale sat beside her. "They think I'm a weapon." Sailari looked at him, her eyes soft. "You're not a weapon, Kale. You're a choice." He didn't reply. The wind blew softly, carrying the scent of glowing flowers through the air. And in that silence, a new thought grew inside him. If his blood could change the galaxy, maybe he had a purpose after all, not as a hero, but as a reminder that one small act of kindness could change everything. Far above the glowing city where Kale now walked, the Galactic Council sat in their glass towers, watching everything. They had eyes in every system, spies in every zone, and data from every corner of the galaxy. And now their attention was on one man, one human who bled for an alien girl. One human whose blood woke up a power that had been silent for centuries. They didn't like it, not at all. Inside the high chamber of the council, voices argued across the round room. Each member represented a powerful species, some with feathers, others with hard shells, some glowing like smoke trapped in glass. But today, they all had one thing in common: fear. The human must be removed. Growled a dark figure with eyes like burning coals. Before the others start following him, he didn't attack anyone. A soft-voiced leader replied. He protected someone. He acted with mercy. Mercy is dangerous. The first one snapped. Mercy is how rebellions begin. The council leader, tall figure with 4 arms and a crown of floating rings, stood slowly. Enough, he said. This Kale. This mechanic. He has shaken the balance. We need to understand how. A large screen lit up, showing images of Kale shielding Salari in the ruins. Blood pouring from his wounds. Another image showed Salari now glowing, confident, powerful. Lifting a stone block twice her size with only a whisper. A power like this, mixed with human biology. The council leader said, could be a weapon we do not control. Meanwhile, Kale had no idea what was happening in the council chambers above the stars. He walked through the alien city, watched by hundreds of eyes, some filled with awe, others with suspicion. Some bowed when he passed, others turned away. He hated it. He wasn't a king, not a god, not even a hero. Just a man who tried to help someone who was hurting. But the galaxy didn't care about the truth. It cared about stories, and his story was spreading fast. Salari found him near the river of lights that flowed through the middle of the city. She wore a simple dress, her hair tied back, no crown, no power around her, just her. They're talking about you, she said quietly. They always are, Kale replied. Tired. It's getting louder. She nodded. The council will act. Soon, Kale frowned. Act how? They fear what you've done, she said. They think you will lead others. Start something. Dangerous? I didn't start anything, he said. I just didn't want to let you die. And that, she whispered, is what they fear most. Back in the council chambers. A new message arrived. It was from the alien city, where Kale was being protected. The message was simple but heavy. We will not give him to you. The council erupted into shouting, slamming fists, flashing eyes. Some demanded war. Others called for sanctions. Some wanted to erase the city completely. But the council leader raised a hand. And silence followed. If we attack now, he said slowly, we prove their fear is true, that we are the enemy. Then what do we do? Someone asked. The leader's voice dropped, low and cold. We wait. We let the fear grow. And when Kale takes one wrong step, we strike. That night, Kale sat in the tower, alone. His body had healed, but his heart was heavy. He looked out at the stars, wondering if Earth knew what was happening. Wondering if anyone there would even believe it. He wasn't trained for this. Not for powers or politics or prophecy. He fixed things. He was good with wires, bolts, circuits. This galaxy stuff was too big. But when he closed his eyes, he saw Salari in chains again, bruised, broken, bleeding, and he knew he'd make the same choice all over again. He didn't regret bleeding for her, not for a second. In a hidden chamber deep below the city, Salari met with the Ancient Ones, keepers of old knowledge. They had no eyes, only glowing veins that pulsed with memory. She does not know what she is becoming, one of them whispered. She does, said another, but the human is the key. He is the fire, she is the wind, together. They will change the stars. Salari stood in silence, her fingers tightening at her side. She wasn't ready to be a leader. Not yet. But if they came for Kale, she knew what she'd do. She'd burn the sky before she let them take him. The council sent their message the next day. It came in a silver pod that landed without sound in the center of the alien city. No weapons, no ships, just a sealed letter glowing with royal energy. Only the elders were allowed to touch it. Kale wasn't invited to the meeting, but Salari made sure he was there. The letter was read out loud inside the circle of voices where leaders met during peace or war. Kale stood in the back, watching the alien faces turn cold, angry, afraid. The message was simple: surrender the human, or risk the consequences. No explanation, no kindness, just a demand. Kale stepped forward before the elders could speak. "I'll leave," he said. "Loud enough for all to hear. If my being here puts your people in danger, I'll go." Gasps echoed through the hall. Sailori stood still, her face unreadable. But her eyes were locked on him. "No," one elder said. "Your blood awakens something." Another said, "You are part of this now." Kale shook his head. "I'm not a chosen one. I don't belong here." Sailori finally spoke, her voice calm but strong. "Then neither do I." Everyone turned to her. Ouch. She stepped forward and stood beside Kale. "If he leaves, I leave." She said, "If you hand him over, I go with him." One of the elders frowned. "Sailori, you carry power now. Your gift could lead our people." "My gift came because he gave his life for mine," she said. "I will not let the galaxy take him and call it peace." The council hall trembled with silence. Everyone was watching her now, not Kale, not the elders, but her. One voice rose from the crowd, a soldier with old scars and tired eyes. "What do you want, Sailori?" She looked at them, all of them. "I want to stand," she said. "I want to live without chains. I want to stop running from people who fear what we are. I want freedom not just for me, but for all of us and the human." The soldier asked. She looked at Kale, her voice softer now. "He reminded us who we were. He didn't do it with power or fear. He just chose to protect someone who needed help. And now, I choose him." The hall exploded into voices, some shouting support, others shouting fear. Kale stood frozen, not knowing what to say. No one had ever chosen him before, not like that. Not in front of a city. Sailori turned and reached for his hand. "You are not alone anymore," she said. Far above the city, the Galactic Council received the reply from the alien elders. "The human stays, and so does the girl. We will not kneel." The council leader's eyes narrowed. "Then let them rise," he whispered, "so we can crush them when they fall." But not all agreed. One council member from a quiet, peaceful world leaned forward. "What if they're right?" he asked. "What if this is the start of something better?" The leader turned to him coldly. "Better is dangerous. Peace is built on control." And that was the end of the debate. The next day, ships began to vanish from the skies around the city. Trade routes were blocked, supplies were cut, satellites blinked out without warning. The council was sending a message not through weapons, but through fear still. Kale and Sailori didn't run. Instead, they walked into the public square, hand in hand. Before thousands of their people, Sailori stood on the high platform, lights shining down on her. Kale stood just behind, quiet, watchful. She spoke with a voice that echoed through stone. "We have hidden too long. We have been hunted, broken, silenced." The crowd listened in breathless silence, but no more. She said, "One human bled to save one girl," and that moment changed everything. She turned slightly, gesturing to Kale. "He is not our God, not our king. He is proof. Proof that kindness is stronger than fear, that one choice can wake the stars." The crowd erupted into cheers for the first time. In years, the city didn't just survive, it stood. That night, Kale sat beside a fire made from glowing crystals. He watched Sailori speak to young children who laughed and touched her glowing arms with wonder. They weren't afraid of her power. They saw her as one of their own. And Kale realized something. Maybe this wasn't about him being special. Maybe it was about what happens when someone stops walking away. When someone says, "I'll help," even if it hurts, even if it costs everything. He looked up at the stars, knowing war might still come, But for now, the girl had stood up, and the galaxy was watching. Asterisk, the council did not wait long. Their message had been ignored, their authority challenged. Now they would answer in the way they always did, through fear and blood. Kale noticed the change first. The skies above the alien city grew darker. Not from clouds, but from ships that carried no flags. They came silently, moving like shadows across the stars. They weren't armies, they were hunters. Men and machines paid in secret to erase threats. Sailor's people called them the Ash. Blades, killers who never spoke. They worked for credits, not honor. Their goal was simple: capture the human, bring back his blood, destroy anyone who protected him. One evening, as Kale and Sailari walked the glowing river paths, the first attack came. A streak of fire tore through the sky. Striking the market, people screamed, stalls exploded. Smoke and light filled the air. From the smoke stepped figures in black armor, faces hidden behind masks, rifles glowing red. Kale, Sailari whispered, pulling him close. They found us. Kale grabbed her hand, his heart racing. Then we run. They sprinted through the alleys, explosions shaking the ground behind them. Kale wasn't fast, his wounds still fresh from before, but Sailari pulled him with strength he didn't think she had. Her glowing marks burned brighter with every step. The hunters followed. Their rifles fired beams that tore holes through walls. One blast grazed Kale's shoulder, spinning him into the dirt. He cried out, but Sailari dragged him back up. "Not yet," she said firmly. "You don't fall yet." They found shelter in an old transport hub, abandoned long ago. The walls were cracked, the floors covered in dust. Kale slumped against a pillar, breathing hard. "We can't keep running," he said. "Not forever." Sailari knelt beside him, eyes glowing like embers. "Then, we don't run," she said. "We fight." The next days were filled with hiding and moving. Frozen caves in the mountains became their shelter. Old satellite stations turned into resting spots. Sometimes they barely spoke. Only the sound of distant hunters reminded them they weren't safe. Not anywhere. But something began to change. The more Kale bled, the more his wounds healed faster than before. The more Sailari used her power, the stronger it grew. It was as if their connection was feeding something larger than both of them. One night, as Kale tended a wound on his arm, Sailari touched his skin and closed her eyes. A warm light flowed from her hand into him. The pain faded, the cut closed. Kale stared at her in shock. "How?" She opened her eyes slowly. "Your blood gave me this," she whispered. "And when I give it back to you, it heals." Kale swallowed hard. Then, maybe we do stand a chance. The hunters closed in every time Kale and Sailari escaped. The net tightened. Villages whispered of seeing them. Markets spread rumors of a glowing girl and the human who would not die. The galaxy watched in silence, waiting to see what would happen. Kale grew tired, but his resolve hardened. He remembered the chains, the girl in the dust, the council's threats. He had bled once to save her. He would do it again and again, if that's what it took. One night, as they hid in a cave of frozen stone, Kale turned to Sailari. "We can't run anymore," he said, his voice rough. "If they want me, they'll have to take me while I'm standing." Sailari's eyes glowed brighter. "Then we stand together." The hunters found them at dawn. The cave shook as explosives tore the entrance. Apart, black-armored figures poured inside, rifles raised. Their leader stepped forward, voice cold through a mask. "The human comes with us." Kale pushed Sailari gently behind him, his fists clenched, though he had no weapon. "You'll have to kill me first," he said. The hunters laughed, but the sound was hollow. Then Sailari stepped forward, her marks blazing like fire. Her voice rang through the cave, sharp as thunder. "Then you will fight both of us." The battle was fierce. Blasts of light tore stone apart. Kale fought with raw fists and broken metal rods, striking harder than he thought possible. Every wound he took seemed to wake something deeper inside him. Every time he fell, Sailari pulled him up, our power burning brighter. Together, they weren't just running anymore, they were surviving. And for the first time, the hunters fell back, retreating into the shadows, whispering to themselves about the human and the glowing girl who would not break. When the dust cleared, Kale leaned against the cave wall, his body shaking. Sailari knelt beside him, her hand on his. "You see?" She whispered, "You are not alone." Kale looked at her, his chest heavy. "Then we make them see too," he said, "the whole galaxy." And outside, far above the cave, satellites caught everything, images of Kale bleeding and fighting, of Salar glowing like a star. The feeds spread faster than fire. Carried by smugglers, rebels, traitors the galaxy had seen, and it would never forget. The galaxy whispered their names long before dawn came, in secret channels, in hidden taverns, in the deep nets of smugglers. Stories spread of a human who bled for an alien girl, of a girl who glowed like fire when she stood beside him, of battles in caves and markets, of hunters who failed. The council tried to silence it, but truth moved faster than their chains. Kale woke to the sound of voices outside the cave. Not hunters this time, but families who had traveled for days to see them. Alien mothers carrying children with glowing eyes, old men with bent backs who remembered freedom long ago. They came. Not to fight, but to kneel. They came because they had seen. Sailari stepped outside first. The cold wind wrapped around her. Her skin glowed softly, her hair shimmering like silver flame. The crowd gasped. Some reached out their hands. She raised her arm, not in command, but in promise. "We are not broken," she said. Her voice echoed through the stone valley. "We are alive." Kale followed, his shirt torn, his bandages stained, his body tired. He did not glow. He did not shine, but when they saw him, they cheered louder. For it wasn't light they saw in him. It was blood. It was sacrifice, and that was enough, far above. The council watched the feeds. Millions of screens lit up across the stars. More and more systems tuned in. Soldiers, slaves, wanderers, kings all watched. Some feared, but others hoped. "They're out of control," a council member hissed. "Look at them. They follow a human. They worship a girl." The council leader's face was like stone. "And what happens when hope spreads faster than fear?" he muttered. "It burns." The final strike came at dusk. The council had grown impatient. They sent their best, the silent guard, elite assassins cloaked in shadow. Warriors said to never fail. They landed outside the valley, blades drawn, eyes cold. The crowd screamed and scattered, but Kale and Sailari did not move. They stood on the stone platform at the center. Hand in hand, Kale's heart thundered. His body begged him to run, but he remembered the chains. The girl in the dust, the promise. He made without words. He tightened his grip. The assassins charged, silent as death. Their blades cut the air. Their rifles hummed, but before they struck, Sailari's marks flared. Her scream tore through the valley like a storm. Metal bent, blades shattered. The earth shook beneath their feet. Some assassins dropped their weapons and fled. Others staggered, clutching their ears. Kale did not stand back. He rushed forward. Fists raised, his body bled again, every blow costing him more. But he did not stop. He struck with the weight of every choice he had made, with the fire of someone who refused to let go. The assassins faltered. Not because he was stronger, but because he would not fall. The fight was over in minutes. The valley was silent again. Only Kale's ragged breathing and Sailari's glowing hum filled the air. Slowly, the crowd returned, eyes wide, voices trembling. Then one child shouted. They stood, The cry spread. Hundreds of voices rose, then thousands, echoing across the valley. They stood, they stood. The words became a wave, rolling. Across systems carried by traitors, rebels, and strangers the galaxy had seen. And the galaxy believed. Later that night, Kale sat by the fire. His side bleeding again, his arms shaking. Sailari knelt beside him, pressing her hand against his wound, light flowing into him. "You'll die if you keep fighting like this," she whispered, tears in her eyes. Kale looked at her, tired but steady. "I'd rather die standing than live on my knees." She held his hand tightly. "Then I'll stand with you." He smiled faintly. "You already do. On distant worlds, miners laid down their chains. Soldiers refused cruel orders. Slaves lifted their heads for the first time in years. Not because Kale told them to, not because Sailari ordered it, but because they had seen with their own eyes a human and an alien girl standing side by side. Bleeding, shining, unbroken, the council tried to crush the story. But it was too late. The galaxy had chosen its truth. And in that truth was a seed, a spark, a flame that would not die. Kale didn't know if he was a hero. He didn't want to be. He only knew one thing. He had bled to save a girl. And in the end, the galaxy saw not his wounds, not his weakness, but his choice. A choice that stunned the stars themselves.